CrossFit Games in a week. I think a really cool starting point. Obviously you must have seen the Reebok announcement yesterday, or the Reebok news with
massive.
the 1 million. I guess essentially it's like the prize pot that they were giving for the last however many years to the games. Like they're still gonna give that out to, it was 10,000, right? $10,000 for individual and teams if you win an event whilst wearing. Is it specifically the Nano X1 or is it just a Nano?
No, it's just
Reebok.
a Reebok shoe, and it's
any Reebok shoe.
Yeah, so I assume if this is a run event, you can still wear like whatever trail runners or whatever. But that's massive. Like, because the first thought that came into my head was James Newbury in 2019 absolutely sending it because he could just win a workout. And now there's going to be so much more of that, because it's like, well, this is right in my wheelhouse, and if I pace it too much, I'm not going to have a chance of winning it.
No, and that is why, like you said, it does really change the mindset of certain people at the games. And it's hard to pick a name out right now, but like certain people have the ability to win events, but maybe don't have the full package. So their overall place maybe ends up being around somewhere between 8th to 12th, or somewhere in that region. Like they don't quite have the consistency at the top to keep them in contention to win the big money anyway. So certain people will really just be thinking, okay, I can target getting a really big payout just for this one workout, and it will sort of mess with the mindset. Of course, everyone says, oh, I try to win every workout, but at the end of the day, some workouts you reel back a little bit because you're happy to.
Well, if you think of
actually third place is great in this workout.
Think of Saxon Panchik, who like never really wins an event. He, like, say at Granite, I don't think he won any events. He was just like 2nd to 4th on all of them, and I'm sure he could have sent it and won one, but maybe affected the rest of his weekend. So there's people like that who it's like, well, geez, if I win one event, that's my whole games experience paid for.
Yeah, and it makes a big difference at the end of the weekend. I think the main thing is with Reebok doing that, surely now you will see more. I mean, surely Nike and Noble are not going to be happy with people now are going to be in their head like, I don't know what deals people are on, and the people that are getting paid really big money may not have to worry so much about these incentives. I don't really know how much people are getting paid towards the top there, but it will surely create competition between brands to add all these extra incentives in. You're like, okay, well, yeah, Nike have to put up 2 million or whoever it is, or Noble, to make sure they keep their athletes. And I mean, on the women's side, it's probably not going to make so much of a difference because you think Tia is going to win.
Yeah,
I don't know, out of 15 events, how many do you think Tia will win? 7 or 8?
Yeah, but even if you look at the people that are her closest competition, you'd say how many of those aren't with Noble or Innovate or some, a competitor.
I think Haley Adams would probably be the biggest one, right?
Yeah.
Towards the
like
top.
Brooke, Catherine, Cara Saunders is Innovate, isn't she? Like, she's not going to wear Reeboks for it. So you're limiting your. Yeah, the men's side is really where it'll make a big splash, I'd say.
I think honestly, the team side is where it'll make the biggest difference, because you think Mayhem have a serious potential chance of winning all 15 events, like actually. And I don't know the other 3 members of the team. I think Chase is always wearing Reeboks. I can't imagine he's got a sponsor. I don't know, but if the other 2 girls have.
I think they're both at well, they were both putting up. Rich has his new shoe out, and the 3 of them put up pictures of, thanks Reebok, thanks Rich. So they're obviously not. There's no conflict there, obviously.
Oh, so I think like with the teams, that's a big payout, and that makes a huge difference to the team. To the team members that are not Rich Froning, like it makes a huge difference. Making that extra cash on the guy's side, I think maybe like Fikowski probably stands to win.
Fellner as well, yeah.
Like, so I think Fikowski in his opening year did he win 3 or 4 events, I think, in 2016 in his rookie year? Like he is definitely that type of athlete that really has a few things that he is just so good at.
So like you've you got Vellner, Fikowski, Saxon Panchek. Royce isn't with a shoe sponsor, so I assume he can just send it on if it's a deadlift workout or
Yeah,
something.
I
He
don't
can
know
just go for
if
it.
Björgvin is a virus athlete, right? But I don't know because they don't do shoes. I don't know if they're just free to wear whatever shoes
Yeah,
they
I assume they
want, or
are. I don't ever remember him mentioning any shoe.
no. I've definitely seen him wearing like Nikes on Instagram, but I don't know if he's sponsored by them. So like he
He'll
is
only be
definitely someone.
wearing his toe spacer anyway because he's with them now, so he'll just be wearing that for all his events. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, there's some athletes that are gonna make, yeah, and it's great. Like it's what the sport needs. Like it needs ways of making it more sustainable, being able to make a livelihood out of it if they want the athletes to
Yeah.
be in the sport for years and constantly growing the sport rather than having to kind
It's
of
a
do.
bold
Oh,
move from Reebok as well because like obviously like they were outbid or like withdrew, which like whatever happened that Noble took over because Reebok were in negotiations with CrossFit to re-up the deal, and obviously something they didn't offer enough, or CrossFit wanted too much, or Reebok just said, "Nah, look, we'll leave it." So like to put in the same, now obviously it's
mm,
different because if there's 15 events, so 30, 45 events altogether, there was no mention of adaptive or age group, so I assume it's
there
just,
was,
is
but
there?
it's a lower payout. I think it's I want to say 2,000 for
Okay.
all age group and adaptive.
Oh, that's good. Well, then if you take, so, oh crap, my math's going to fail me. Anyway, a lot of events, even if you just take,
70 or 80. Oh, it depends
yeah,
on each age group.
70 or
Actually, it's
80
gonna be way more than
potential
that.
payouts, we'll say, or plus, maybe 100
Yeah,
payouts because of all the
yeah,
different age groups. So
yeah.
how many of those are going to be wearing Reebok shoes? How many of the winners of each event are going to be wearing Reebok shoes? How many of those will have? Because I think the deal is
25%. Yeah,
before every workout, you have to sign
yeah,
in as so like I'm
yeah.
sure if there's that much stuff going on, it'd be pretty easy to forget. Or like you might go into thinking, I'm probably not going to win this one and not bother.
Mm.
Like those kind of things will play into it as well. So like it's maybe a safe uh big announcement to be like, we're giving $1 million, and it's like they might only pay out like 250K of that million.
Yeah,
They get to
yeah.
keep the rest. So
But I mean, like I said, like surely on the girls' side, they're not going to make anywhere near as many payouts because you just assume that Tia is going to win a bunch of those 15 events.
and then if she doesn't, you're looking at
Yeah.
like Brooke, Katrin, Boat Noble. Like they're not going to suddenly turn up in a pair of nanos for like for 10 grand or
No,
whatever.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is good though. I think it's good. It's a good move by Reebok as well because it's a bit of a shot to nothing. Like I said, they're not going to have to pay out the full million. But as well, it's like they've said from the start like that they're not abandoning CrossFit just because that they've lost the sponsorship deal or like reneged
Mm,
on it or whatever. So it is a statement of like, yeah, we're not going anywhere. And like I think that's exciting for the sport because like you say, you have other brands like Nike are always unusually quiet about actually investing in the sport itself. They kind of invest in individuals more so than the sport, like largely compared to say Noble
mm,
or
yeah,
Reebok. So it does put pressure on brands like even smaller brands like Innovate who maybe don't have the same reach as Reebok. It can only improve things for the athlete and for
yeah,
the fund side of things, which is good.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, really good.
We'll go through the workouts that have been
Yeah,
announced. So
event one.
yeah, I mean, like what you talk about there, swim and longer paddle, like it's
I guess it's just gonna like he made a point. So they've said it's gonna be 15 events, right? So
yeah,
which is the most. I think that is the most by one. I think the biggest is 14
yeah,
so far, maybe 13. So obviously they're making a point because this is year 15, right?
yeah.
I think so, 15 for 15. So making a point. I think this is going to be, you know, bigger, better. Everything is going to be more than the last time we had this format, which was 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So swim, paddle to start. I think the distance when they did this last time was 500 swim, and I think 2K. I think paddle, and then 500-meter swim again. So I would imagine they will increase the swim distance maybe. maybe the like a tougher swim challenge. Or maybe it'd be cool to, if it was a stand-up paddle, just to throw something different in, like rather than the prone. Although the prone was a really hard test, and very few people I think have really had chance to get on a proper prone paddleboard and test that out, because it is way harder than like prone paddling on a stand-up paddleboard.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, say historically, you look at like say Fikowski's a really strong swimmer, and you look at him historically, he's always has like a bit of a shitty day one, like a bit. It takes him a while to kind of get going and stuff, and for people like him, this is huge because it gives a massive boost from day one, like right at the start, they're going to have a boost. But then also for people who maybe aren't particularly strong at swimming, or who this is going to be like a damage control event, at least it's out of the way early, and they're not going to be thinking like, oh God, on Sunday morning now I have this swim and paddle thing. I better keep myself a little bit fresh for that, because that's going to be a nightmare. Like, so there is the two sides to it, like of if you're strong at it, it gives you a huge push at the start. And if you're weak at it, you can just forget about it and start your CrossFit games like after that event, basically.
Yeah, I think, Fikowski is a good shout for event one. I think Yonne is probably the favorite. He won last time when they did it in 2015, and super good swimmer. And then there's a few like this. It'd be interesting to see what the standard of swimming has always been relatively low, especially like, you have like 10 people that are decent, like good swimmers, and then there's a pretty massive drop off after that. You just have to be able to front crawl, and you can pretty much hit middle of the pack on a lot of CrossFit events. So it'd be interesting to see. I'm sure the standard has improved pretty massively. The women will be good.
Women,
I think the women will be a really good battle. I would probably put my money on Emma Tal.
Yeah.
Just because she's such a good swimmer, but I don't know how much exposure she's had to the board. Whereas like Cara Saunders won the event 2015, has obviously had a lot of experience on the board. I saw Emilia Leppänen was because they gave Jonakoski the board that from the event when he won in 2015. So she's actually been on the board, and I know that she's she absolutely crushed the swim when she was on our team in Dubai. I think we didn't do a great. The plan was to get ahead, so and then Emilia would finish it off, but I didn't do so good on my lap, so she was sixth getting into the water out of 8 people, and I think she came out first or second out of the water. She just absolutely crushed it. So I think she could be a really good shout for this event.
Yeah, I wonder will anyone swim in their nobles or in their nanos to win that.
That'd be worth it. I mean, Jonakoski, how good a swimmer is he that he can stick on a pair of nanos and still beat everyone?
Yeah, he just tattooed on his calf or something.
Yeah. Well, that'd be so good if someone did that.
Yeah. So we've got event 1 then is the swimming. Event 2 is the
Okay, this is my favorite announcement so far,
Yeah, I mean the announcement was bizarre but good. It's
the actual announcement was funny. I mean, the workout itself is the one I'm most excited about so far.
I think everyone's going to be saying triplet from now on.
Yeah. It was the first few seconds I was watching it, I was like, oh, is this just a stupid joke? And then I didn't know if it was a meme account or something, and then I realized, I think it's actually serious. So it was funny actually.
Do you think so there's certain vagueness with this where it's like sled drag, no word on weight, distance, anything. We're assuming it's going to be that hand over hand drag as opposed to walking backwards, like a pull backwards or whatever. Then muscle ups, it says, I think it said, is it 42, but it didn't say what kind.
Yes, you had the pig flip before that, so it was the sled, then the pig flip, and then 42 muscle ups, and then flip.
With the pig, I suppose everyone's assuming it's going to be the same pig as the last time, but didn't they change it between 2 times that they used it before?
Well, they changed the design, so that the initial design they had, that I think Rob Orlando helped them design that one, was obviously a big chunk of metal, and it was plate loaded.
Yeah, you've seen Froning has it on his Instagram a bit.
And they made it much safer. They kind of padded it out and
It's a big
I don't know. I
block of
don't know
foam.
what they did. Yeah, I don't know what they did with the weights. Like,
I
I
think
would
it got
assume
big.
it
It
went
got
up a little
taller,
bit.
didn't it, when they did that? Like it got harder for the shorter
Yeah.
athletes the second time, I think.
So I don't know. I mean, general's assumption is that they would go heavier, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. Maybe you
Yeah,
just
they
flip
could
it
just
for
go
longer.
further. Yeah.
Yeah. But it also doesn't need. It's a completely different workout, or actually kind of similar to last time they used it. It was with rope climbs and handstand
Yeah.
walk. So adding some skill in there under like the main thing
Fatigue.
with the pig is that, and I've seen like obviously a lot of people practicing, is like just trying to save your biceps as much as possible, because the thing that people do is that they sort of they drive the thing up to about chest height, and everyone's in a bit of a rush to get their arms underneath it, and in doing that you kind of have to do this bicep curl to get your hands underneath. And the way that we sort of taught on the strongman courses before was, once you get it up to that halfway point, is sort of digging your legs underneath it further, so getting your whole body further underneath the pig, which then can take the loading away from your upper body before you do the push. So it'll be really interesting, like the ones that have actually, I think a lot more people have handled the pig now compared to back in 2015, but it'll still have a massive effect on muscle ups, depending on, I think if it was, yeah, ring muscle ups probably is the toughest sort of effect, but it depends, what it could be. It could be burpee muscle ups, burpee bar muscle
Yeah, I heard
ups,
someone mention that,
like,
and it just
you know,
sounds so horrible. Like that would be
yeah,
carnage.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that'll be a good event. You'll probably get a bit of a sneak attack from someone who can sort of manhandle that. Maybe someone like Royce Dunn. I don't
Yeah.
know. It seems like the type of person that could smash through a sled and a pig, and has still got really good gymnastic capacity to get through 42 muscle ups.
Yeah. Someone, oh, I can't remember who it was. Was it CJ or someone commented on his post saying, if you don't win this event, don't bother coming home. So
I
yeah,
think if it's ring muscle ups, that will definitely, I think that will sway the event more towards that gymnastic element. But I think if it's bar muscle ups,
yeah.
I think that the pig and sled will come into play more. It really depends how heavy that sled is, and like you said, how you're pulling it. If you're doing a hand over hand rope pull into pig flips and then trying to do gymnastics, that's going to be a really, really tough combo.
Yeah. The fourth event then is that's our, I'm using the term loosely from like, so sprint, but it's like the guts of 500 meters.
500 meters, right? It's just over
Yeah.
500 meters. Yeah.
So a slow jog. But I was,
Like a 450-meter jog, and then a
yeah.
max effort 50 meters.
I was talking to Austin Maliolo yesterday, and they did something similar, and he was like, because of the number, I assume that's what it's going to be. That, remember they did the football field out was it like out halfway back, full way, and then around. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, he said that you feel like, oh my god, I'm moving so fast, and when you watch it back, you're like, wow, okay, like there was essentially concrete in my legs.
Yeah.
So one of the first thought I had when I saw that event is, at least one person in at least one heat is going to mess everyone up by going out too hard. People are going to, because that's probably the event where you're most going to be susceptible to changing your game plan, because you just have to beat the person that's beside you or that's in your heat. So it's like, it's a very difficult one to play your own game and like focus on your own speed, especially when it's like, how often are you going to be able to look up at the clock and be like, oh, I'm X amount of meters in and I'm whatever distance in.
You basically can't, like, it's so short. It's like, I don't know, 90 seconds of work or whatever, and you just head down and just go as hard as you can possibly go. I
Everyone's
really
going to be
hope
wearing
that
Reeboks for that one.
Yeah, I really hope that it's not a change of direction, like down and back. Like, I would like to see them just do a
lap
straight
and a length or something.
Yeah, a lap, or just if they could have like a straight 500-meter track or whatever. I don't think they've done that, right? Like a just sprint max effort. And we when we went to Lowlands Throwdown in 2019, we had a 400-meter relay sprint, and that was super exciting, like to be part of and to watch. Like, just there's so much that can change. You think it's such a short distance, but like you said, people go out so hot, but you're running at max effort, and you can hit a wall at 200 meters, and there is plenty of time for movement there. And it's just a different test to a change of direction test. Like, I would be super excited to see just a 500 meters. That is just brutal. Like 400 meters is horrendous, and just adding on that extra 100 like really adds room for that late sprint. It's one of the best things to watch at the Olympics, right? The 400 meters. It's so good to watch. So
I kind of feel
I would really like that.
because you said yards. Like Americans don't even use yards anymore, do they really? Unless they're talking about the actual football field, like positioning on the field. So it kind of does make you think like, okay, it probably is going to be that event or something similar where it's out and back, like out halfway back, all the way back, and then there was another bit, I think. But you kind of get used to that with Castro, where you like listen to the words that he says. You're like, why did he say that? Like, that's an unusual turn of phrase to use, or that's an unusual unit of measurement that he's used there. The fifth one, then actually, so the fourth one on his little
that was the third one, right? The sprint was event 3.
And on his little, his little whiteboard thing, I don't know, can you see that? Yeah. His little whiteboard thing that he put up. So event 4 is going to be on the field. So I have this theory that event 3, everyone's going to be locked in a room. Event 3 is going to be the sprint, and it's going to be straight into event 4. That's going to be like a 10-mile ruck or something.
Oh, wow.
And they're just going to be like, as soon as you finish the sprint, it's like, you got 20 seconds. There's your bag.
Yeah.
Off you go. You go up, like go out. And remember, they did that ruck run last time around the river in Madison and back into the stadium.
Yeah.
It'll just be like, right, off you go. And then the next group will come out and be like, where the hell has everyone gone?
That would definitely replicate. So they did, or a similar sort of stimulus to, they did the marathon. Was it the half marathon?
Oh, the half marathon time.
The half marathon when they
5K or
the
something,
2K.
wasn't there? Yeah.
2K.
Yeah.
So like a sprint, sprint start, 2 separate events. Like that would be also very cool to do with a run. Especially if, like you said, it was unknown. Like you did not know that run was coming up, and you absolutely
that'd round off
even
day
if,
one.
Even if you know that the long run is coming up, you would still feel the need to sort of send it on that sprint, I think. But
yeah, I just think, because like I was watching the documentary from last year yesterday, and he so much loved telling people to turn around. Like he loved, you could even in the interviews afterwards, you could see how much he like,
so happy.
That might be one of his favorite things he's ever done. Like you could see how chuffed he was with it, that like there's definitely going to be something similar, and that's the best way to replicate that kind of twist, is to be like because they did it years ago. Was it 2016 or 2015 maybe, where they locked people in a room for one of the events because they didn't want them knowing it, and that was the only way they could do it. So like they have history of like just corralling people. It's obviously harder now because social
they did it
before
they did it before the final in 2014, I think it was.
Yeah.
So they kept, the 2014 was when they had to do double grace for the final. So I think it was before that they quarantined everyone.
Yeah, and everyone's used to quarantine now, so it wouldn't be too hard. Event 5 then is the rope climbs. So it's like 4 rounds, isn't it? Of
4 rounds of 4 rope climbs, 500 meter, or I think 450 or 400 for the ladies, and then a sandbag carry.
Yeah, again.
No, very similar to event 2. Like I think.
Yeah.
It has a similar feel to it. I think like the gymnastic pulling, a little bit of the strongman element. The skiing is similar to a hand over hand sled pull, similar. So I think whoever kind of does good in that event 2 is probably looking at event 5 also, and being pretty excited about that.
Yeah, there's a nice mix. Like the skier always suits. I always think the skier and the sandbag suits a big guy. Whereas like rope climbs, I mean, obviously to a point, like you're taller, so that's good, but like you're also going to be heavier. So like
if it's normal rope climbs, I don't think I've seen like big guys
has to be legless,
ever really struggle.
It's surely be legless, surely, because they've done it. All the rope climbs they did in the last couple of stages have been legless, so you'd have to assume it's going to be legless.
Maybe I don't think it has to be, to be honest. With like 4 in a workout, if they use a thicker rope, if they use a higher rope, they've used, I think the height, did they use 25-foot ropes one year when it was they had to do rope climbs and then a sled push across the field, like the tackle dummy, they had to push it across the field. So like a higher rope is a really good stimulus. And it might, we don't have the full picture yet, so it might be that this is supposed to be a faster paced workout, like a light bag,
or a short distance,
normal rope climbs, high heart rate from the skiing. I think it's the first thing you think is like, okay, the games, that means we have to do legless rope climbs because we did legless at semifinals or whatever it was. Then it has to go legless and it has to go higher and it has to go harder, but it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Yeah, I mean, toes to bar and kettlebell lunges come to mind for it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah. And that was like a workout that I think people kind of looked at and was like, this is not a games level workout, but at games level intensity, then most things can be like a really effective games workout. So yeah, we'll see. Legless rope climbs 16 legless rope climbs will definitely be more taxing than 16 normal rope climbs. But I think if they used, I would like to see some variance in the, okay, we're going to use the 20-foot rope or the thick rope or a combination of both.
Or oil it.
Yeah, or oil rope, yeah. Shorty rope, we've not seen that for a little while, probably because
off like the jump.
Live competition's been away, so
6 and 7 then are grouped together and they're going to be announced on the field. So I kind of like, it's probably stupid predicting this kind of stuff, but I'm always like, okay, what's going to be outside, what's going to be inside? And I kind of in my head see 6 and 7 as the first inside one. But I could be way off, like, who knows what event 4 is, but I just think the rest of them.
What time of day we're at here? So you've done event 4 is on.
I feel like event 4 is going to be the last one of day 1. That's just my own. He hasn't said anything, so that's my own little like. Well,
potentially.
And I'm basing that off my prediction that it's going to be a long run.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, maybe into the stadium then. Like you'd be on Friday night here because they're going Wednesday. Is it Thursday a day off? I think.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Friday night into the stadium.
Yeah. Do 6, 7, and 8 in the stadium.
Some classic CrossFit, maybe some lifting.
Yeah.
Yes, handstand walk.
So that
looks like a long handstand walk with multiple like different ramps.
Was it 2017, 2018? Was it that was there? The parallettes.
18, yeah. So
was that just
double unders,
walk out and walk back, or there was something before it, wasn't there?
Yes, they had to do like 50, I think, like heavy double unders.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it was like I think it was a zigzag, a normal handstand walk ramp, and then a handstand walk ramp with the parallettes.
Yeah, judging by the video they put up, it's going to be quite long. Like,
yeah, it looked like it, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like up to the ramp, straight onto the ramp, and then it was over like quite long parallettes. I thought. I don't remember them being that long. Maybe I'm wrong, but they were quite long. And then down a ramp, and then it was like across a good stretch of floor. So again, I'm picturing that in the arena at night because it'll be all laid out along the length or whatever. So yeah, I'm excited to see that one. I think there's a lot of people from that year looking for a bit of redemption on that one, like people who are good, like say Tim Paulson, good in his hands. That wasn't a good event for him. Whereas I think now he'd be like, okay, like I've done a lot of practice on that kind of stuff. There'd be a lot of people in a similar boat. So I think that's one I'd say where I'm sure Brian Friend will do it. If you compare the performances of 2018 to what we're about to see, I think it's going to pale in comparison because if you look at any top games athlete Instagram, at least once a week they're on their hands and they're going up and down or over or steps or whatever. Like, so I think there's an awful lot of work has gone into that.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be slowing down people too much this year.
Yeah. 9 on the field, 10 in a couple of days, 11 on the field, 12 the day after, a couple of days, and then 13, 14, 15 on the field. So you know, 15 is obviously going to be like a finale of sorts.
Still a lot to go.
Yeah, like it's interesting. So we haven't seen any ladders or 1 rep maxes or like we haven't seen a lot of like classic CrossFit, you know, like couplets or, you know, like that kind
No,
of,
not yet.
they're kind of out and in chippers more so, like so far.
No.
So it'll be kind of interesting to see what, I feel like a lot of those ones that are going to be events announced on the floor are going to be those kind of events. But I think it's interesting as well because if you think back to that 2018, wasn't it, where we had Fibonacci and we had the handstand walk and all that kind of stuff, like there seemed like there's so many gaps there that maybe because the games is going to be more similar. Obviously last year was bizarre as far as the games went compared to other years. 19 was also bizarre as far as
Pretty
the games
bizarre,
went.
yeah.
So like that's what I'm anticipating, that we're going to shift back to that kind of 2018, like the similar
I think
feel.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we look then okay, obviously we know some of the workouts, we don't know other workouts, and there's a lot of like variables. But if we were to say pick your 3, say the females, who would you have earmarked as like, even if you're not willing to put them in a first, second, and third position, but just who will be on the podium?
Like overall at the end of the weekend, I think Tia, number 1. And I think Cara and Haley Adams.
Yeah, I'd love to see Haley Adams. I'm just a bit worried for her.
I
Like if
think she
she
was
can
super
perform as
impressive at
well as she
Mac.
did
Like,
last year, sick and injured,
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see. I'd love to see Cara. I think Cara is actually probably the only one that'll put it up to Tia. I think it'll be the closest it's been in a while. I also think it's going to be Tia's last year, so I hope if it is her last year, I hope she does win it, because I think it'll be a kick in the teeth to her legacy if in her last year she didn't win it, having won it so comfortably other years.
Yeah.
I think
I think she will.
she kind of alluded to it in the documentary. She was like, she wasn't going to compete last year. So you have to assume then, going out on a high in Madison, job done, walk away, like, 5 times, isn't it? So
Yeah, and
yeah,
equaling what Fraser did on the men's side. So
yeah, unless she like wants to beat it, but I doubt it.
yeah,
So then yeah, I'd say Cara after that. Third, like the third spot on the podium, like until you know the rest of the workouts, it's like, even when you know the workouts, it's hard to predict what's going to happen. But like there are so many there that it could be, like there are people with a good shout. Like Emma Quaid has a good shout if the workouts that come out, the rest of the workouts that come out are in her favor. But then you look at like Emma Tall, equally, like if there's another couple of workouts that suit her as well as the swim one should, in with a good shout, and what a story that would be. And then you've also got like the American side, or based in America, like you've got the stalwart names like Catherine, Brooke, all those kind of people, like, and I think, Brooke is definitely going to want to improve on what she did last year. But then you've also got the Vegas crew, like of Bethany and Carrie, and
yeah,
like it is like it's
they were super impressive.
hotly contested. Like,
Yeah, I mean it's basically just a guessing game. I said Haley because like when she did so well 2019, it was one of those things like, oh, she's young and she managed to get past all the cuts, and then was not so good on the lifting ladder. Did she deserve to be there? And then the next year shows up and gets herself into the top 5, and I think she's just on a upward trajectory.
And narrowly missed out on the podium with like
a
ruptured ankle and being sick, like really sick as well, from what I've seen.
Yeah, I watched that documentary as well. So I think, I'm just kind of backing her because I think that she's going in the right direction. I think that she was super impressive at Mac and was like, it's not often that you see the other girls just weren't pushing Tia, and Haley was. So if she can hang at the semi-final stage, then I think she'll be pretty much right there at the game stage as well.
Yeah. On the men's side, then,
That's so much harder.
yeah, it is crazy hard, really.
I started writing down because I knew we were going to talk about this, and I started writing down names. And I realized that for my podium, I had like 10 different names written down. So I think it's such a big, like, who just wants it, like who reacted to, when Matt Fraser said he was retiring. Like, I would have loved to just that reaction, the mental reaction of those guys. I think
I think
it would have
maturity and
changed.
experience is going to play a big part, because I think
Yeah.
if you look at people like um, Saxon Panchik or Colton Mertens, or maybe, I don't know too much about Hopper Reed to comment. Like, he was so impressive, so it's hard to know, like, does he have a major hole anywhere? But like, you have to assume that people that added bit of intelligence, like from like experience of, like, say, Fikowski, Vellner, Yana, like those, like BKG, like that, you have to assume that added like the years of, okay, I've made all those mistakes. Whereas you see people like, you know, Hopper coming in, who maybe hasn't had an opportunity to make those mistakes yet. Now, he might not make them. Like, he could be,
Yeah.
the next Fraser. He could just, like, because you saw he was working with Fraser, and he's been like, that guy is, whatever you want to say, he's seriously intelligent. Like, he went and spent time with Fraser. He went and spent time with Proven. Like, he's absorbing everything from everyone he can, which is remarkable to see, because, like, fair play to him, he has no allegiance anywhere, so who cares? He can do what he wants. Like, there's other people who are stuck because they're in their training group and that's it. He has the benefit of, like, I'm going to learn from the best that are out there as much as I can, which is admirable. But yeah, I think, like, there are, you like, those experienced names will never have a better chance. Like, you, like
No.
Vellner, Jana, Brent, like
I,
Scott.
I went I went Björgvin number one. I think, like, he's proven that he's in that top 5 bracket, definitely top 10 bracket, but more often than not, more like the top 5 bracket for years now. So I think I put him down as my first place. I put Noah as second and Vellner as third, and then I had a bunch of other names: Jon, Scott Panchik, Hopper, Fikowski, Medeiros. Like, the guy's side is going to be so
Yeah,
exciting to watch this year, I think.
I think it's going to be the closest spread as well. Like, it'll be the closest on Sunday.
Yeah.
I think it will come down to one of those last 2 or 3
Yeah.
workouts is going to
I
call it.
hope so. That'd be
Yeah.
great. It just hasn't been that for so many years. There's always been a dominant.
Yeah.
I mean, the year that Fraser was pushing Froning all the way to the end was the last time that we had that. But, like, I don't know how it's going to play out, but I don't think we've had this situation where it's like, okay, there's 10 people that could genuinely show up and win.
Yeah.
If
And I think if
if
you ask 10 different people, you'll get 10 different answers.
yeah,
Yeah.
which
And
is super exciting. It's
it's
good for
also
the
very
sport.
easy to convince people of, like, say, if you thought BKG was
Yeah.
going to win it and I thought Vellner was going to win it, it would be very easy for me to convince you. Like, that's how tight it is. It's not like, no,
Yeah.
don't be ridiculous. Like, it is, like, so close.
Yeah. And there's always, there's rookies every year. Like, there's people that just show up. There's a bunch of rookies showing up this year. And there's always someone that makes a big
Splash.
statement
Yeah.
and either pushes for podium or is definitely sort of in the mix in that top 10.
Is there anyone that stands out on either side as, like, someone people should watch out for, do you think?
I think Andre Houdet is going to be a dark horse. I mean, obviously Jason Hopper is a rookie as well. I think looking at the semi-final performances, he is the one that's going to push the leaders the most. But I think, yeah, if we're talking about Europe, I think Andre is someone to watch out for. Maybe not this year, but definitely as someone who is going to develop into the next sort of, the people like Jonne and Björgvin and even, Adrian Munweiler that have been, they're names that have been dominating in Europe now for a while. You would expect them to be games athletes, and they have been for the last however many years. I think Andre is going to fall into that category. I'm excited to watch Sam Stewart. I think he, by the looks of it, like CrossFit stuff and lifting and in the gym regionals type stuff, he is extremely good. He might still have some work to do on the games type testing, maybe from just not being exposed to that as much. I don't think he was super comfortable in the water when we was in Dubai, and that is a big part of it. You got to learn to have a damage control in those events.
It'll be interesting to see how much being around the training think tank environment changes him as well.
I think it would have been massive for him. Like, would have been such a good environment, such a good training environment, so much to learn from, and he's got nothing to lose as well. But I also agree with you about Emma McQuaid. I think she is someone. She's not a rookie, but she is someone who I think can make a big statement.
I'm
would definitely be under the radar going into it.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a top 5 for her. I think that's incredibly realistic. Is a top 5. I think if things go the right way and if she performs,
you called it in the semifinals that she would win.
Yeah. If you say enough stuff, some of it's right. I can just edit out all the stupid stuff I said. Yeah, no, like, God, I'm so excited for it. Like, so excited. I think, like,
I'm excited because I'm excited because after the games, like, something new happens. I don't know, there's new equipment or there's new.
Do you think there'll be anything different this year, or do you think it's going to be the tank? Is the torque tank going to be there, and that'll be the new thing?
Maybe, but I mean, something different with the rig, maybe, or something different.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the pig, which is kind of new. It's not been used that often. Maybe a different type of sandbag is going to get carried, but it just shapes the game, shapes the rest of the year. It inspires programmers that are doing events. Okay, we want to do something cool like that. We want to try and do this type of.
Every gym owner will be going out buying a pig.
Everyone started doing paddleboard stuff after they did the swim paddle. So, like, what they do in the games really shapes the rest of the year for the non-cross, the out of season events. So it's always, I think it's super exciting for me as a programming standpoint to see every year what the tests are, and okay, wow, this is a standard. This is the standard. Already, I've been really shocked by how high the standard has been on sort of the level of volume that they've programmed in quarterfinal and semi-final level. So it'll be really interesting to see what they program and how I and other programmers can learn from that, building into next year, how you're going to train people for the next season and stuff as well. So yeah, super exciting.
Yeah, I actually can't wait. On another side of things, I'm kind of wondering, will there be a documentary, or will it be, because I think that's interesting, where up until now it's been like all in-house media, and then the Buddy Bros took it over when there was no in-house media. But then, I don't know. I kind of have an outside suspicion that either CrossFit are going to do their own one this year, or there won't be one. I kind of have a weird, I don't know why, but it's just in my head that there's not going to be one, or else CrossFit will do one themselves with like the Buddy Bros not involved. But I could be wrong. I remember listening to Savan's podcast with Matt and Josh, and Savan mentioned that there's something about a book, and then like 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, it was announced that there's a book coming out, and he mentioned something about a fight, and then the fight was announced, and he mentioned something about, like, he mentioned stuff, and you're like, what is he talking about? And then he's right, like a couple of weeks later, it's announced. So obviously they're telling him stuff, and presumably telling him, don't talk about this, but this is happening. And a couple of weeks ago, he said, when is the movie coming out, to Matt? And Matt was really weird in the answer that he gave. And if you were Matt Fraser, who would you pick to make a movie? Like his best mates, Buddy Bros. So then if that's happening, because they were with him last week or this week, so if that's happening, they're not going to be, like, they've said themselves how intense it is making the games documentary. Like, it destroys them doing it. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, that's not programming, so that's just my own, like, nerdism. That's the other part of it that I'm interested in, the media side of stuff. So yeah, that'd be interesting if there's none, or if HQ do it.
I'm sure there will be something. because
They
they've
have
done
their
such a good
media
job.
team. I know their media
Yeah.
team is going to be there, obviously. So it'll just depend on who's doing it, I suppose. Interesting. Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll catch up. Well, it'll be after the games, I guess, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It's crazy that it's going to be over in like a week and a bit. Actually,
Yeah, I
yeah.
guess.
Do you think Frony's going to retire?
No,
I do.
really. After this year?
Yeah, I think he's done. He said did you see that Miles Madison thing?
Oh yeah, I did.
And he said at the start of that, when they changed the rules to like in your affiliate, he said he was going to quit. Like he was just like, look, maybe it's time, I'll just retire or whatever. And instead they drafted in. It was actually Chase said to him like, "Yeah, are you going to make it? Like I want to be on it, basically." And then I remember when I interviewed Chase, he said that like a few weeks went by before Rich said, "Okay, do you want to do this?" So like he obviously did really think about it. So I wouldn't be too surprised if this was his last year as well.
Yeah.
That would be massive because that would like I know
Well, it
he's
opens up the
not.
team side. Yeah.
It's not just him. Like I know there are other people on the team and stuff, but you do have to expect if he leaves Mayhem, like why would the two that have moved in stay there? Like they're not like they came. I assume they came because it's him and because it's Mayhem. Whereas if he's not on it,
Yeah.
would they be as interested? Like, it'd be interesting to see because that would blow everything wide open on that. Like that would be a bigger vacuum than Fraser leaving on the team side. Then be interesting.
Potentially. I don't know if I agree with that.
Oh, I think it would. It's just so dominant.
But they haven't won. When was the last? So they got beat.
2018 was it, or 16, 17?
But they have been beat in the past.
Fraser's been beaten in the past as well, though.
Not since he won.
Yeah, I don't know. They're just like I'm
I don't know.
sure.
It's debatable. It's
Yeah.
debatable. I think I don't know if I think Fraser was more dominant.
Yeah, I suppose it's definitely more impressive dominance because it's singular, like it's one person or whatever. But anyway, okay. I
It would
that
leave
you,
it would basically open up that competition. Yes, I agree in
yeah.
that it based like this year I'm looking at it that it's bit like you. I literally wouldn't be surprised if they won every event. Like it wouldn't
God,
surprise
imagine
me.
how much money they'd make. Fuck. $150,000 on top of the prize money, on top of the games payout. That's crazy. That's a big deal for, like, say, Chase. Well, it's a big deal for anyone, but it's especially a big deal. Like, he has a young family,
someone who
and his own gym.
doesn't have the sponsorships to go with it. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, we'll catch up afterwards and
Yeah.
see who was right with their predictions.
Yes.
And see if Tia and Rich retire. God, if that happens, sorry, if Tia retires, if Rich retires, and if the games documentary format changes, someone somewhere needs to hire me as like a psychic for CrossFit. A really specific psychic. Cool. Okay. Thanks, Mel.
Yeah. See you, mate.